Hello and welcome to the functions video. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So to create a function in Swift, you're going to type the keyword funct, and then you're going to follow that with the name of the function. So we're going to calculate the sum of two integers. And the first argument we're going to pass it is, we'll name alpha, and then the second argument we'll name it is beta, and both of those are integers. And then we do the arrow operator, and we're returning sum. Return alpha plus beta, and then if we want to see how that works, if you hit tab, it'll auto jump to the completion, and then you can just put in your number, 4 and 5. If we run, give it just a second to load, and you'll see it pops up with 9. So let's go with the function definition here. We have the name of the function, and then we have the two arguments. Each argument has a name, a unique name. You have the type, and then when you're returning something, you use the arrow and integer. And so if we wanted to do a function that prints hello world, and we don't want to pass it any arguments, and we don't want to return anything, it's going to look something like this. And then it's just going to print hello. Oops. And this is a string, so we'll specify it as a string world. And then we would just want to print hello. If we see down here, we get our 9 again, and then we get our hello world. So no arguments, no return value. That's what that looks like. If we want to have a function that does not require you to include alpha and beta when you call it, or your argument name when you call it, we'll take the same function here. We'll turn it into number 2 so it doesn't argue about the calling it twice. If we use this underscore before alpha and before beta, now we can call, now when we type 4, it's going to replace the entire example there for us, and we'll make this one different with 7. Now when we call it again, we get our number. We didn't have to put alpha and beta in, so in some cases that's useful. Now if we do announce location, I don't know, silly name, but we have an underscore name variable, and this takes a string, and then we have at location, and this also takes a string, where it's not going to return anything, but we're going to print, and say we want to print the name that's passed in and the location. We'll see that we can do that with, so now when we call the function, now when we call the announce location, put the name in, it's just Bob, and then when we tab over here, we're just at Missouri. Now when it prints, see, hello Bob, welcome to Missouri, and the at is what you populate here instead of location. So if you want something different that helps your user understand kind of the flow of the function, or the flow of the arguments, you can use a different variable name, and you want to use something unique for your function, put it there. It makes more sense in some examples over others, but that's alright. You can also return multiple variables at once. Return random tuple. This is going to return a set of integers, one called min, or just call it alpha int beta. So now we want to return a tuple, and the first one's going to be an integer, random, in a closed range of 1 to 100. And then the second one is going to be an integer, random, 1 to 100. So now we see when we print the random tuple, we get alpha and beta, two random numbers that it returns. We can also return a optional value in our functions. I'm going to use the same example here, except this time it's going to return with an optional. We mark our optionals with a question mark, and this one's just going to return nil. Now, obviously, this by itself does not make much sense, but there are more clear options, and if you read through the Swiftbook options, it gives you a more complex function. But this time when we, let's define this as the second one. When we print what we returned here, return random tuple2. This time we'll see that it's just going to print nil, and that's what it did down here at the bottom. This dot dot dot, when used after an argument declaration, is going to allow you to supply multiple doubles in this case, or multiple of whatever you're using, and they'll all be considered numbers, or whatever your argument value is. And so what this function does is it takes any number of numbers that you put in and returns a double. So it's going to find the mean of the numbers. And so we go through a for loop, and it takes the sum of the for loop, or sum of the numbers, and it returns the total over how many numbers there were. And you can grab that with numbers.count. And then if we print this value, we'll see that it takes all of the numbers that we put into the arithmetic mean, and it goes ahead and returns the 3.10 or 3.0. Okay, so the next thing we want to show here is the in-out for an argument. An in-out is going to take a variable that you've predefined and use that variable as the return value, or it's going to make some change to that variable that you're putting in. So in this case, we're swapping two integers. I believe this is also from the Swift book, or it's similar to the Swift book. And so when I create basketball down here as a variable, and I create cup holder as a variable, and I put 3 in basketball and 2 in cup holder, this time when I run through this function, basketball is going to be replaced with 2, and cup holder is going to be replaced with 3. And you can have this with more than just a switch. It could be something that in place kind of changes the variable you send it. You cannot do it with a constant, because obviously you can't change a constant. So make sure if you're going to try to use something like this, you send a variable. This is all I wanted to cover in the video, and there is more that you do need to read about functions before you jump into the next video. Functions as types is a section towards the end of the functions section of the Swift book, which I'll have linked in the comment section, or you can find on Canvas in the readings for the week. Go ahead and read that functions as types from there to the bottom if you have not yet. So thank you for watching this, and the next video is closures.